Alright. So, what it do? It's Matt, back again. I've been MIA for a while. As you can see, I moved locations. I'm trying to, we'll get to that. We'll get to some updates and stuff more in the future. I finally want to get this list done. I've been planning on where to do the video and how to do it and blah, blah, blah. I just want to get started, jump right into it, and we're going off script though, you know? So rather than a top 10, top 20, I picked a total of 26 projects that I thought were my favorite or most listened albums of the year. This is by no means anything. This list is pretty much meaningless, but it's just something to catalog, I guess. So starting off with the number 1 slot, aka it could be number 26, doesn't really matter. Number 1 was King KRULE's The Ooze. King KRULE, if you watch my other video review, I had nothing but praise for this album. I really like his voice. I have been a King KRULE fan for a little bit now, and really I think that The Ooze is a perfect title to his masterpiece. It's very sludgy. It has a lot of sludge behind it, and the way that he picks it up with songs like Emergency Blimp, but then slows it down with Dumb Surfer, or even keeps that groove with Dumb Surfer. But Lonely Blue is such a beautiful song, and just a lot of this is very beautiful and relies heavily on his vocal performance and his, obviously, instrumental performance as well. If you haven't listened to any of these albums, I strongly insist that you check them out. But then if you followed most of my reviews or videos or even showcases, then you would know why I picked most of these. We got WIKI with No Mountains in Manhattan. Right off the jump, WIKI's been one of my favorite artists since the start of Rat King. Really experimental hip-hop, but he shifts to more of a... This is some really interesting and experimental style, but he reminds me of very golden era, where his lyrics are very homebound and very personal, but he really does tap into this vein of, I think, originality and perseverance in the way that he takes these beats and kind of manipulates them. But then his grin behind his lyrics, and he puts a lot of feeling into his music, and I can appreciate that because, man, is No Mountains in Manhattan a really standout project. With Nutcrackers, No Mountains in Manhattan was easily one of my favorite tracks and closers of the album, as well as Lepico Key, great successor to Little Me, and even his earlier stuff with Rat King, 700 Phil, and even Wiki 93 I liked a lot, and of course So It Goes is album of the decade for me. But yeah, Wiki has always stood out to me as a really rooted artist in New York, but also the way that he can manipulate his sound to reach a much wider audience. Then moving on, a reissue, but I did not talk about it on the site or anything like that, didn't post about it. So ZAPPA, the Live at Halloween, that box set that came out that features, I think, 3 different shows on the CD. There's also a mask that was included in the one box set, but in either right, Frank Zappa has been an artist that I've really been inspired by, and he's just really, it's very strange, but he trusts in his ideas, and the set lists that he picks are very similar for each of the shows here, but wow, Zappa is just as equally professional and incredible to listen to live as he is on the studio records. Some of the best, I believe, recreations or reinterpretations of his songs, such as Big Leg Emma, Titties and Beer, Broken Hearts Are for Assholes, Grow Me a Chin. The list just goes on, and he really does play a very great mix and wide variety as well. Bobby Brown Goes Down continues to be a favorite that I continue to go back to over and over again. And hearing it on Shake Your Booty and also the live albums, I think that the live albums they have a lot more energy to him, and the way that he interacts with the crowd, and the way that he can really just take these very strange ideas and put them into one mixing pot and create this solid gold, essentially, is always interesting to see. And Frank Zappa has always been a favorite of mine, even since I was a young age. And his style of playing, just the Muffin Man, the way that he just goes right into it, and he's just a very talented artist. And I see that they're trying to do the hologram. I'm very interested in that. So next on our list is number 4, number 2, number 3, number 4. Gotta give it up to Code Orange, obviously, forever. This record came out in January 13th. They had the record release show, and wow, they can fucking destroy it. Code Orange is a band that I've always loved, even since I didn't hop on when they were Code Orange kids, but whenever Code Orange I Am King came out, that was the album that I was really introduced to them, and they are just having an incredible year. I have nothing but respect and admiration for them, obviously because they're from Pittsburgh, but really because their music is just so blending, and the way that hardcore is now being looked at through a wider sense and actually being appreciated is just incredible. They're one of the front runners of Roadrunner Records, and they have just so much support over the broad range of fans, from metalheads to industrial artists. They really have conquered the sound, I think, and really made something that's listenable for everybody. Forever, some of my favorite tracks. Spy was one that I always went back to, and even the title track, Forever. I mean, there's just some fucking ugliness behind this record, but it really comes through, and I don't know. Just Code Orange. I love you guys, and I really, anytime that they release something or have some sort of new material coming out, I'm always excited to see what they can do and what they bring to the table. I Am King, they really, I think, established a super hardcore sound behind them, and now with Forever, they just have taken that sound and just
solidified.
The Body and Full of Hell's Ascending a Mountain of Heavy Light. It goes for the same thing, almost like Code Orange. The Body and Full of Hell are both bands who have established themselves on Matt's Music Mind just through their really punishing style. But then they really come through and illustrate this sense of overbearing punchingness, overbearing aggressiveness that really shines somehow through this dual split LP. And from the first trailer, I wasn't really super excited about it. I was kind of skeptical, actually, about the sound. And then when I listened to it all the way through, and again, and then again, and then I did my review, and I went back to it again and again, I really understood that this was an album that I had super hard mixed feelings on. I didn't really love it at first, but I didn't really dismiss it either. It was something that I always kept coming back to. It's daunting, really, and that's The Body and Full of Hell coming together to really illustrate this sense of just deadliness, honestly. They strike quick, and some of it is definitely, you can tell when The Body had their hand on it primarily, and some of it you could tell when Full of Hell had their hand on it primarily, but the two, when they come together, make for a masterpiece of destruction, honestly. Number 6, not really an album, kind of an album, 27 minutes, 30 minutes, Steroids by Death Grips. This was something that came up really quickly. It's technically one really long song, but people have broken it up into 7 different tracks. It's a weird mix that when I got the notification on my phone that they had uploaded a new track, I kind of freaked out, and I was actually in a restaurant and ran to the bathroom for all 27 minutes where my family thought I was dead. But Death Grips is a band, of course, that I've always loved, only because of their raw tenacity and their animalistic ability. Zach Hill is a beast that dude is not human. These guys just kill it every time, and pretty much no matter what they make, I'm obsessed with, and I kill till I play to death. So Steroids is a project that I have realized that the seizure-inducing video and the hints at another album, I was hoping for something before 2017 ended, but of course I'm always more than willing to wait for them. Just caught them in concert on their tour with Ministry, and I don't know how you could play for an hour and a half and not get tired, or an hour and not get tired or pass out with no water, but these guys are just like a well-oiled machine of music. Okay, so number 7 is kind of a cheat for myself, but it is the Suicide Sagas 15 through 20. That's the Suburban Sacrifice Saga, the Deep End Saga, the Infinity Saga. Let's see, what else do we have? That doesn't matter. But the 15 tracks from Suicide Boys I've lumped into one big release, only because it's easier to, rather than taking up 5 slots, they only take up 1. And this list is arbitrary, it doesn't really matter. But Suicide Boys, just saw them in Cleveland. They honestly, seeing them progress from 7th or St. Tammany to Southside Suicide to just being able to have this huge following behind them. I mean, it's no easy feat to have as many followers as they do for that style of music, to working with Juicy J, which is another just incredible mixtape. They really have a lot under their belt, and the projects that they release each time are 9 times out of 10 something I always go back to. There are a few every once in a while where I don't personally like them, but I can still appreciate their progression. And on the 5 sagas, that would be 16 through 20, I personally enjoy when they're more aggressive and when they show their teeth more. Their style is so incredible, and their work ethic is amazing, and I applaud them every time that they come out with a project. It seems like they drop something every 2 months, every month, every week. They always have stuff planned up, and I really am happy for both of them to proceed to the level where they are now. And I wish them nothing but success in the future. Right after that, gotta give it up to my man, Uncle Ricky. I do remember the first project I fell in love with, and it was Banshee. Banshee and Garbage are my 2 favorites by him, but of course, for this year, or 2017, I love Disgrace. I just think that was an album that I could really connect with, and not so much the themes, but more the tone of the album, where it's very sullen. It's very Bones-esque, but he continues to just create these senses of real beauty, I suppose, behind his instrumentals. The producers that he uses, his own lyrical style is just always interesting. And then also with Banshee, I want to kind of go back to that, only because Banshee has been, I feel like it doesn't get talked about as much as it should, but it's one of those projects that has really these incredible lively tracks that, like Hands of the Witch or First Night in the Woods, where the bass is just so overbearing. But then it has like Waiting by the Planter and The Difference Between Us, and it's these downright beautiful tracks that I don't think anyone could replicate. Oh, it's also his birthday today. But I don't think anyone could replicate his style or really produce in the same quantity as he can in the same way. And he is just outstanding in the way that he does this. He's just immaculate in the way that he can tie these lyrical themes together and throw references back, and listening to Bones is just such an experience, I think, each time, and he always brings something new to the table every time, and I think that's what makes me go back to him so often. Moving on, we have... Oh, fucking battery's gonna die. So Black Marble, it's Immaterial. Just a beautiful kind of synthwave style. I guess that's what you'd call it. Whatever you want to call it. Drum machines. It's fucking pretty. It's really articulate in the way that the bass shines through and the drum machines coincide together. And I think that Chris had a very clear idea with this album, where the opening riff of Iron Lung instantly struck a cheers from a crowd when he came to Pittsburgh, and I think that he continues to be a standout artist for his style and for his way that he can manipulate the the albums and the way that he can manipulate the machines to work within themselves. And while it's at my number 9, which has nothing to do with anything, I think that this is an album that I always put on in the car. I always put on trying to kind of relax at the house. It's a very dazed album.